the joint meeting of the Housing and Community Development Committee and Human Resource and Human Rights Committee. Today we'll be taking up ordinance in the Human Resources Committee. We'll be taking up ordinance number 11119. It's an MWB ordinance, making some changes to that. And on the housing side, we'll be receiving a report from Steve Longo, the Executive Director from the Housing Authority. Present are, for the Housing Committee, Councilmember Ballerin, Conti, Love, and myself. And present at this time for Human Resource, Human Rights are myself and Mr. Conti. But we'll get started. And other council, I already mentioned that. Other council member present is Thomas Hoey. Okay, so.
And O'Brien.
Mike.
Oh, and council member Michael O'Brien, who I covered the members that are in the. All right, so with that, since we have most of the housing, we have a quorum in housing, we'll have Mr. Longo come up and give us a report.
You sit down, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so as Councilman Kimbrough said, I'm Steve Longo, the Director of the Albany Housing Authority. See lots of new faces, an exciting time for the city, the Common Council. It's exciting for me as the Director of the Housing Authority to come over. This is the first time I think I've ever been to the Housing Committee, so hopefully it won't be my last. So we talked about me just giving a very broad overview so there would be time so that if council members wanted to steer the discussion in one area of greater interest. So that's what I thought I'd do, is just give a very brief presentation and see where the interest was. So the Albany Housing Authority was created by an act of the New York State Legislature way back in 1946, therefore making us 73 years old. We're one of the oldest housing authorities in the country. We have an operating budget of $50,850,000. Approximately $3 million is capital improvements. $18 million is Section 8. Of course, we can talk more about the Section 8 program, but we are right now sending out $1.5 million a month to pay to help families that live mostly in private housing afford market rate rent. Under the Section 8 program, the family pays 30% of their income, and using HUD funds appropriated by Congress down through the Housing Authority out to the landlords each month. We're never late with our share of the rent, which is $1.5 million a month, $18 million for the year. Our payroll is around $6,900,000. So we have a big impact on the local economy, which is why I went into the details of the budget. See, we have 109 full-time employees. We have, over the last 28 years, grown our inventory, and we have now over 2,301 apartments. And we have become a very, very diverse housing authority. We don't have exactly one style of housing. Older public housing like the Lincoln and Steamboat Towers are the old style public housing, and the new housing that we've been building. I have a brochure here that has it highlights the new housing that we've built over the last 20 years. Approximately, I think, 1,300 units at a cost of $225 million. And that housing is tax credit housing. So we have Section 8 housing, project-based Section 8 housing, tax credit housing, and public housing through the old federal program. So we have 2,301 apartments that we own and manage. We have 2,814 vouchers in which those families, 2,814 families, live in private sector housing that meets the federal housing quality standards that we inspect annually. And they pay 30% of their income to the landlord, and we make up the difference. And so We've already talked about that, $1.5 million a month, $18 million for the year. There's enough money at present to subsidize 2,814 families. The average family, 30% of their income, which is their rent, the average HAP payment, which is the housing assistance payment, is approximately $550. Public housing waiting list has just been purged. It's done annually. That's not a great word, purge. I also call it, are you still interested? Because we had a high of 13,000 on our waiting list, but you have to understand that a lot of people, when they apply for housing, if they get housing, then they no longer are at the address where they told us they were. And so we send out, it takes all summer long to send out an are you still interested? So we didn't get an enormous amount of the letters back, or an enormous amount of the letters were returned undeliverable. So consequently, I have new statistics. We have 3,159 families on our public housing waiting list. Of those families, 1,992 listed an Albany address currently. On the Section 8 list, there's 1,133 active families that have been verified, and 720 of them live in the city of Albany. Under our regulations, when the Section 8 waiting list drops below 1,500, it is reopened. So what you might not know, that Congress does not intend for Section 8 to be an entitlement program like Medicaid. By design, there's not enough of it to go around. Waiting lists in New York City are in excess of 20 years. In Albany, it's 3 to 5 years. And so typically, housing authorities close the Section 8 waiting list. So we will be opening our Section 8 waiting list because we are below the 1,500. It'll probably be open for a month, and it'll open sometime in late February, early March. Ads will go into the newspaper. So I thought I'd give a little update on some of our construction activity because there's been a lot of common council interaction because of the nature of bringing in investors and pilots. And so IDA Phase 1, which we were here talking to you about several years ago, we've completed it. All 61 apartments, all the families have moved in. IDA Phase 2 is under construction. It's 76 apartments. 62 of them are in a 7-story mid-rise, and you can see the elevator shafts and the stairwells are completely built, and now they're coming up and they're around the 5th floor. It's an exciting time. It also includes 62 units, 1 and 2 bedrooms in the mid-rise, and 14 family apartments. Around the block, 4 family apartments, 4 bedrooms over on Peter Schuyler Court. Were just finished, and the families moved in the week after Christmas. And I'm telling you, the apartments are absolutely beautiful, and the views out the back door of the mountains across the river are incredible. And on moving day, to see the families move in to that quality of apartment was an amazing feeling. There are 10 additional family units that are being built on the site in the foreground of the 7-story high-rise. IDA Phase 3 is well underway. IDA Phase 3 is carving out a plot of land on site for 10 units that are going to be built hopefully this summer and sold to first-time home buyers. We're trying to intermix the rental area with home ownership. New urbanism and other urban theorists have demonstrated the quality of life in the neighborhood dramatically changes when you have a mixture of home ownership and rental and subsidized rental. IDA Phase 4 is going to be another tax credit deal. There are 2 types of tax credits. One are competitive, known as 9%. The other are 4% that are thought of as of right, in which you get from the Housing Finance Agency bond cap authority. And we'll be doing that to renovate the 2 7-story existing high-rises of IDA Yarborough. So they were last rent, pardon me?
2 high-rise? You said the 2 high-rise?
That's IDA Phase 4. And one of the dramatic things that'll be happening is next year, or late this year, is a new skin will go on the building. The buildings were built in the 70s with a very, very porous brick. It's impossible to get them clean from the pollution of the elevated roads, and this new skin will be designed in such a way that the pollution won't adhere to it. And these units are very popular. There's 225 of them, and they are right across the street from the brand new theater. So the new Cap Rep Theater will be the renovation of that will be going on hopefully at the same time IDA Yarborough Phase 4 will be going on. It's going to be a great, great opportunity for that area. As you know, that area is part of the DRI, the $10 million Downtown Investment Grant. We are actively involved in it. We might be receiving a grant of $200,000 for the home ownership units. There's $14 million of projects and only $10 million of money. So we've made it to the final, but we don't know if we're going to be a finalist. All right, so let's see, I think I covered that. Lincoln Square, we had a little article in the paper, and I think there was some interest by one of the common council members. So if you look at the neighborhood plan for the South End, Capital South Segue to the Future, which admittedly we know needs to be updated, it calls for the units in those two high-rises to be replaced with a less dense style of housing known as infill housing, and we've done that. We originally thought we could do it with what's called Hope 6, and we would be able to do it all at once. 3 times we applied and 3 times we were turned down, stating that we weren't bad enough. So we accomplished the master plan of Lincoln Square through 3 9% tax credit applications. And we've built in the South End neighborhood 190 new apartments through new construction and renovation. We did not move the families out of the Lincoln Towers at the time because we had an excessive waiting list and we didn't have the $4 million to tear down the buildings. And we thought they would symbolize iconic symbols of urban decay if the buildings were left vacant. And so at this point in time, we are ready to start applying for the financing to try to demolish the high-rises and move the families out. We have enough replacement units to accommodate them and also Section 8 vouchers to accommodate them. Per the Capital South plan, we would like to try to attract a market rate commercial developer to develop something on this land that could be used to create jobs for the residents of the South End and to bring new residents to the South End by the virtue of the new amenities that could be in the project. Steamboat Square, as you know, is part of our next development plan. We were over at the Common Council seeking a pilot for Phase 1, which we received on December 20th. We submitted our application. We have a partner with Edgemere Development and Home Leasing. Home Leasing is doing a big project on Clinton Avenue and is a well-respected developer. We're partnering with them, and Steamboat Phase 1 is called Steamboat 20. It's a $20 million project to put 37 new apartments in the back wing and top floors of 20 Rensselaer Street and renovate the 51 apartments that are there now. And we will be doing a master plan to decide how we're going to tackle the 3 remaining high-rises and the 100 low-rise units. And so I imagine there'll be Steamboat Phase 2 and 3, which will include the remaining high-rises and the family units that are in the foreground. We also are actively interviewing solar consultants to market our properties to see if any of our buildings would be advantageous to put solar on them, or there's benefits as a housing authority. If we purchase our power through a solar farm, an off-site solar farm, there could be a financial benefit to the housing authority. So that's well underway. So right now, we really are not just narrowly looking at housing, because our housing is in neighborhoods that are challenged. And so we roll up our sleeves, we have for 28 years, try to figure out how to be part of the solution. And so everything from, we own one of the largest barbecue grills that we tow around every event in the city of Albany to try to meet our neighbors and get our neighbors to meet each other and understand that we are all part of the community, and that if one is not successful and prosperous, then the other won't be as well. So that's how we've created neighborhood strategies. We've applied for grants that have been enabled us to hire economic development consultants. So we run an employment agency called the Wage Center. It stands for Working to Achieve Gainful Employment. It's at 200 Green Street. We have a vendor that was procured in May of 2015 for a 5-year contract, so it will be expiring on April 30th, 2020. We'll be going out to bid there. I have every month on our website, we publish a little profile of folks that have gone through the program. Our Wage Center specializes in individuals that have hardcore obstacles to employment and working It's not a big volume program. It works with a small group of people with an intense program to try to get them on the track to employment. So we highlight somebody who's been through the program. I have 5 months of the different folks that were highlighted to show how they came into the Wage Center and how they came out. The Wage Center last year in 2017 got 68 unemployed families or people jobs, full-time employment, and in 2016, 75 families and individuals got full-time employment. Okay. Some of the other interests that have come up when I've been here for pilots are when we do new construction, what type of benefit is there for people to get jobs? And so we track all that, and Ida Yarborough Phase 1, which we've discussed, is completed. And I wanted to say that I have the records, and 66 Albanians, people with Albany addresses, got employment during the construction period. And then I drilled down a little further and found that 17 of them live in Arbor Hill. So I do have those statistics, and I did make arrangements, or we did talk when I was here for the pilot, and I'm going to begin to send the quarterly statistics of employment and minority employment on projects that the Housing Authority is working on. So honestly, I thought that would be a decent overview, and that I could find out where areas of interest were through questions. That would be all right?
No, yeah, you covered a lot of ground there.
DJ, it's 5 minutes. He's on his way.
Yeah, I think Councilmember Johnson, who's not here, had probably the most questions. He said he's 5 minutes out. But I know one of his questions had to do with the Wage Center, which you kind of gave us an overview and some information on that. Part of it was local folks at IDA. You mentioned that. The Lincoln Park thing, you touched on that also. So I think right now it'd be fine if we just take public comment. Oh, well, actually, council members.
Has a
You
question.
said 17 from Arbor Hill, where the other one's from like South End. You know where the other one? 16 of the 17 were Arbor Hill.
Yeah. 17 out of the 66.
Were like the other like 30 South End, you don't know that.
I can
You don't
get
have
that
to
for you,
break
John.
that down.
Yeah, I was thinking about it, like, because
20 was from South End.
there's all these rules about I can't disclose names and things like that. And so I'm thinking, like, from what's on the news now, if I brought over the list and it was redacted, that the whole thing would be, because I can't give you the name and I really can't give you the address.
Because they're probably from South End.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right. Yeah, we just do it by neighborhood or area,
I can
just
do
the
it,
general.
we can work to get you
Right.
without,
Without disclosing.
disclosing
addresses
anybody's
and names.
private information,
Yeah.
we can get this to you. Yeah.
Yeah, that would even be by
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, I know, I also want people to understand that the city and the Housing Authority work really well together. So somebody said, well, the city is doing the Lincoln Park master plan and you're doing a plan for Lincoln Square. Do the two of you talk? And we do, because the consultant is looking at a piece of our property to expand the basketball courts. So we're all, in sync with each other and making sure that our long range and our short-term plannings are all taking each other's needs into considerations.
Okay, committee members with questions, Mr. Ballerin?
I have two questions. One, so you said 66 were from all, how many were the total number?
Okay, let's see. Okay, so 381 people got jobs on IDA Phase 1.
How many again?
381. There were 381 jobs, so they don't necessarily, they could have been Acme Plumbing, and they already worked for Acme Plumbing and they worked on this job. Everybody who works on this job, everything has to be tracked, including the government mandates a wage rate, and I have to verify that they receive those appropriate wages as well.
And out of the 109 full-time employees, do you have a figure of how many Albany residents?
No, I don't. I could get you that breakdown. I was interviewing somebody today for an open position, and they were not from Albany. And we do have a preference, and we are civil service. So if you're not from Albany, we have to demonstrate that, you know, there is nobody from Albany that can meet those qualifications. And then we can go to Albany County. And if we can't find anybody in Albany County, we can go to an abutting county.
Thank you.
Just real quick, let the record reflect that Councilmember Johnson has joined us, Councilmember Flynn, and Councilmember Doche. Thank you.
So, first of all, I apologize for being late. I had to drive a kid home. The mother wasn't there. I can't leave the kid. But, you know, it's disturbing to hear that you don't have the information that was clearly requested. And you came in and you threw out numbers. And we're asking for proof of what you were saying verbally, because in the first meeting you said one thing. You said the Wade Center, you sung a song and dance of how we have a system that is, you know, providing opportunities to local community members. And then when I walked out of the meeting, I made a phone call, I found out otherwise, and then you came back and you had a different spin. And now here we are today, where I was expecting to see proof, because I have someone that is out here. If you could show us 6 people that you employed from our community, we were going to take you out to lunch, because you said 66.
We said 6.
So, you know,
I apologize for the confusion. There's no malice intended here.
You know, I don't get verbal and vocal like this, right? Well, and you know, what it can't happen in the 4 years that I'm going to sit in this seat is that someone could come and just sing a song to us, and it's no follow through on it. As I said, the project that we're discussing is right across the street from my daytime job. So when this stuff goes on, you know, people give you a phone call, they can't get to you, but people are going to be coming up to me, and I'm going to be left to hold the bucket for that. So, you know, I feel like defeated because I just rushed here, because I was very clear to the chairman of the expectation, what I was expecting to hear today. And to come to find out that here it is, I spoke to one of my fellow councilmen, and he said for 4 years he requested things from you and you never produce. And so, and here it is, the first time that I asked something, the same thing is going on. I'm an Albany housing kid. I grew up in the Albany housing projects. It was beneficial to my family when my family needed it. And for us not to be able to get this information is unacceptable.
So just let me, Mr. Longo actually did go through numbers. He spoke to the IDA Phase 1, which is what you wanted information on. He said 381 people overall were employed down there, not all from Albany. 66 were from the city of Albany and 17 were from Arbor Hill. I think that would meet the requirement.
But you could come in here and say.
And also, let me say this. It's the Housing Authority. There are federal guidelines that cover this stuff and protect information. We're not going to get exact information, the name and address.
Why wouldn't we get names if we're the council? If they're coming to us and they're saying that they're going to do X, Y, and Z, why wouldn't we get names? And then why would you tell me on the phone last night that you were going to get, you want to make sure that information was here?
That's the information.
No,
this is exactly the information you requested.
No, that's not it.
It's not the way you requested and the way you want it,
no,
but it's what you requested.
It's not what I requested, because you can come and say you hired a person for 1 day, and on paper it looks like that person was working throughout the length of the project. We all know that can happen, right?
I'll get the records, and
Because
me and you can go through them, okay?
Everybody sat at the committee meeting the first day. I asked point blank specific questions about were people from the area code going to be working, and it was no problem. And then when I walked out here, I made one phone call and I found out that wasn't the case. And then I called you and asked you to reach out to Richard to let him know that I wasn't going to introduce that resolution.
Right.
And then
Oh,
we,
you're talking, yeah, for.
and then we
down
had conversations
Right.
and said, no, we're gonna make sure that everything is right. And now, and that's what this
It-
meeting is for.
Right, exactly. Can I get those records and I'll go through stuff with him? Because we
Yeah,
can
I
go
could
back and
probably
forth,
also
but
try to
based
get
on-
releases
But based on,
to
what-
give the names.
but based on what you're looking for, I think, I mean, it could be better. But also, you're failing to realize this is a public housing authority. It's not like one of these developers developing down on Broadway or in the North End or whatever.
This is
It's
a public housing authority
housing
that comes to this
authority.
council and they get a lot of money, and it's a lot of monies that come through that don't necessarily matriculate in its intended form. And so, like,
But it's
what
not
we talk
intended
about-
to provide jobs. The fact that it does is awesome, is great, we want that. But that's not what the program is for. And as far as the Wade Center is, the Wade Center deals with hard to employ workers, folks that have all kinds of issues that they try to support in getting either from part-time employment to full-time employment or just employment, period.
So
That's what that
once
program is.
it's-
But-
like, I wasn't sitting here by myself, and I know that the first meeting that he came in, it was like, oh no, we got a foolproof plan to address that, and the Wade Center was brought up, right? So I talked to my constituents that went to the Wade Center, and basically all they got was a dead end. So the Wade Center is put in place to address deficiencies in our community, right? But it's not addressing any deficiencies, but yet they keep on getting money. And I asked a question, I said, when was it last bidded at, or was it ever bidded at?
He answered that.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yes.
So when was the last time it was bidded at?
2015, and it's a 5-year contract, he said, in April of 2020, can you just?
Yeah,
just run through
contract,
that.
we went publicly out to bid on 5/1, and the process culminated with an award on May 1st, 2015 for a 5-year contract, which expires April 30th, 2020. Not everybody who walks in the Wage Center walks out satisfied, unfortunately. Many people who walk in the Wage Center, it's changed their lives. Every month, we profile someone who has had tremendous success through the Wage Center. Not everyone.
So my question is this, the Wade Center has been under the guidance of this person for how long?
5 years. This particular contract is a 5-year contract.
But, so she had the contract before that
She did.
too, right?
She won the
So
contract.
my question is, how long has she had this contract?
I don't know.
You
I
don't
know. I can't tell you right
So
now.
is it 10 years or is it 50? Because I saw her name on the South End plan from 2008.
I can get to you the date that we first contracted with this vendor.
So I guess what I'm hitting at.
I have nothing to
and
hide.
Please forgive me for being direct and
No,
stern.
that's-
But I just want to know that we have this person that's been in charge of a program for over 10 years and it's not producing. Well, why are they still getting the
I
bid?
respectfully disagree with you. You're saying that you have a constituent who did not get a job when he or she walked into the Wage Center.
I
and
had a
don't-
skilled worker
Okay,
that
all right.
came through there.
I can't say
Will you-
specifically about that person. I can tell you,
Can you get more numbers? So
Yes.
How many individuals have walked into the Wage Center looking for assistance versus how many have been able to get?
yes, I have those numbers.
Okay, can you share those with us?
I can get you more, in detail. Right now, I have a summary in which we had, in 2016, 6,190 people dropped in the Wage Center to inquire about what services were offered. 159 of them enrolled in a counseling program. 73 worked with employment specialists. Let's see. We also run the Wage Center does the Section 3 certification program, whereas any contractor getting a job with federal funds, they are under the Section 3 program, including people that get jobs from the ACDA work, and we certify those folks. And we certified 480 people that came in the door, became certified, and are on the Section 3 list, so that if a contractor has to hire Section 3 employees, they can go through that database, and we maintain all of their experience. Let's see. We also run a GED program. It's not called GED now. I'm sorry for not knowing the new term, but we had in 2016, 32 people received their high school equivalencies, and 2017, 25.
So I have a question. What is a Section 3 certification?
Okay, Section 3 dates back to the Civil Rights Act of 1968. It's a non-race, non-gender. It's simply an income and location program. And it says that if you own a company and you've got a contract that is paid for with federal funds, a certain percentage of any new hires as a result of that contract have to go to Section 3 workers. A Section 3 worker for Albany Housing Authority would be a family living in the apartment complex where the work is going on. If no one is there that meets the job requirements, public housing in the entire city of Albany, and if there's no one there that meets the job requirements, then people living in the neighborhood. And there's such a thing as a Section 3 employee and a Section 3 business. We also certify Section 3 businesses.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I just want to make sure, so the first number you gave me was 6,000, or was it 600?
6,190 people in 2016 came through the front door inquiring about what services were available.
How many actually filled out paperwork or I mean, because to me, I like to know, how many people applied versus how many people had an outcome. So if you apply for college, how many people actually enrolled in classes, and how many people actually
Completed.
or how many people got through your first year, and how many people
Graduated.
completed. So I like to know the stages of the numbers, so that you can see where can you actually invest some resources to try to address whatever problems may be, to solve the actual problem. I don't know if those numbers you're able to get in the future. I mean, those are more detailed.
I can get you more detail. What I have today is that 159 people signed up for reoccurring counseling in 2016, 180 in 2017. The only outcomes that I'm tracking at this point that I have for you are that how many people got their GED, and how many people got jobs, and how many people signed up and had regular reoccurring appointments with a work development specialist. I have those numbers.
How many have to reoccurring appointments with?
73 people met on an ongoing basis with an employment specialist in 2016, 197 in 2017. The GED were 32 in 25.
And out of those 73 people that met consistently, how many of them found?
So in 2016, the Wage Center was successful in getting 75 people employed, and in 2017, 68. This program is funded by HUD. It does not come out of the rent money or the public housing money. It's a competition that the HUD holds, and you have to fill out a competitive application and demonstrate your track record. And we were able to win the money every year for the last approximately 25 years.
So I hear 6,000 people dropped in. That's what you said.
Right.
And I counted 143. 60, you said 75 1 year and 68 1 year of people that, what was the 75? Was that a job?
75 people, as a result of going through the program and their interaction with the Wage Center, became gainfully employed in 2016 and 68 in 2017.
So we don't see, like, you can't understand why I would be alarmed by, we have 6,000 people drop in, and we only connected with 143. Or we only had a positive, a favorable result with, and so that right there, if I was leading that, or if I was over that program, would cause me to look at that program and say, what isn't working? And this is where my frustration is that I have a number of things in my ward that aren't working, but they steadily get refunded, and it's business as usual.
All the statistics are reported to HUD, and based upon these statistics, the grants were renewed.
But I would also say, right, it didn't apply for something, and then some
just
people just
stopped
didn't
in.
go back.
What's going on in here?
There's any number of reasons why people didn't go back.
As you know,
Well, and as a top number to say we're serving this.
My question is it 6,190 visits or 6,190 individuals?
It could have been that, you know,
Duplicate individuals.
duplicates, like they came in Monday, they walked by again on Tuesday. There's also issues that we deal with here in which the city mission, which is around the block in the winter, pushes people out. And so they oftentimes come in and say, can they use the computer? You know, and so the 6,000 number is a little, you know, deceiving in that it could be duplications, many
So maybe
duplications.
you need to start drilling
Yeah.
down and keeping better stats on more specific, because again,
I
again,
think
but
applications is what
Yeah.
we need to know who filled out applications for, you know, like you said, you have 32 individuals who graduated with their GED, which is a big deal because once you have the GED, it opens up the floodgates to a lot of other opportunities. So, you know, but how many people did you have sign up for the class? How many people did you have actually start the class? Maybe you had 60 people sign up for the class and only 40 people started. Now, if you only had 40 people start, you have 32 people graduate.
that's excellent, right? But
really good
context, right?
The people in the industry have singled out the Wage Center for doing exceptional work. One of the things, they don't deal with volume. The thing that we have found is that there's a lot of people that are doing job training programs, but our niche is that people who have been through many job programs and have been unsuccessful. And this tries to work with a small group of people intensely. One of the things we do is we have agreements with an area hotel in which we get somebody ready for employment and they go to work at the hotel in an internship program. They spend part of their time in the restaurant, in the housekeeping, and many times our people are picked up by the hotel. And we stay on board because some folks, one of their issues is getting to work on time every day. That's something that we specialize in. It's there's a story to be told here, and it's you know, it's not perfect. It has room for improvement, and we're constantly trying to improve it. But we are changing people's lives, and we are making a difference.
Okay, in the interest of time, we're going to have to move forward because we still have two folks for public comment that we haven't gotten to yet. Some of the stuff we can take care of offline, and I'd like to get you over there with Mr. Longo to go through this stuff, and you can dig in and go as deep as you want. We just don't have that time right now.
But you know, for a matter that is important as this, time shouldn't be, you know, and I apologize for being late, but you know, I feel like I'm speaking up, and everybody was at the table and heard the same thing that I heard, and I'm hearing like 3 different things coming from, and it's like you keep on jumping in and kind of aiding him. And what I'm saying is that I feel even worse about the situation listening to this spill right here. And it shouldn't be a meeting one-on-one, because when he came in here, he made a public statement about the Wage Center, about what is going on in these inner city apartment complexes that is not actually happening. And now I'm bringing it to the light, and it's like, you know, we're gonna.
No. So, okay, which part are you saying? Because the thing is, on the night in question, you were sitting down there. I was actually sitting on the other side of him, so I heard probably better what he said than you did. But I don't. What exactly do you think he's saying that isn't true?
I'm saying.
You said he said 6. He just showed us 17
I'm just saying like
people.
this, right? You just gave me a number of 6,100, and like that sounds like an impressive number of people coming through the Wage Center.
Right.
But then when you dig into
break it out, right.
and then you hear that it's people coming over asking to get on the computer. So those type of numbers should never come to this table, because that's misleading. And as a person that represents this community, as a person that has lived in this community all my life while I was in Albany, We've been underserved for too long, and these buildings are popping up in our community, and people in our community haven't had a chance to benefit from the experience of learning, of being a part, being connected to it. And it's being told, and you come through here like, oh yeah, we have people from the community, but now we're asking to see the actual names of the people of the community, and it's another.
Just, will you get the names?
I have it.
If you can.
I would have to get a
Yeah.
release from the actual person to give you the name.
Wait, this isn't something he's not disclosing because he wants to not disclose it.
It's
You
like
can't.
health records,
But also,
the same thing.
I
You
would,
can't
I would say that people in our communities do benefit. They reside in some of this public housing that the housing authority has developed.
I gotta say two things. One, I think it's critical that whoever you're working with, that runs this center, give you the numbers or
Yeah, we
keep
need
the
maybe
numbers
even an
of-
audit, possibly.
Of the applications.
Yeah. To
And
break
the
the numbers out
outcomes,
better.
the applications, the admitted, and the outcomes. I think that's going to be key, because that is going to tell you who's functioning. And I also do think there should be an encouragement to whoever you hire for these construction
Yeah,
jobs
okay.
to do a more intensive job to try to hire people from our city. 66 is great, but it's 66 out of 381. And I think I want our residents to be able to get out of public housing. And there's two ways of doing that. Skill development, where you get marketable skills, and jobs. And if you don't have the marketable skills, but you do have, if you have the willingness to learn skills that can be marketable, that you may not need to go through a long process of education, construction jobs are one of the last few jobs that have good salaries that can get people out of public housing and into buying in our neighborhoods. And I do get frustrated when I see 381 and only 61. And it's not just you, it's everywhere. And it's money where we put money in our school districts, and we put money, us in the city, with our bonds and our roads, and a lot of the people that are working are not from our city. And, I understand this, I understand my colleague's frustration, because of the frustration that a lot of us that represent these neighborhoods are feeling, because we want our residents to have better economic opportunities.
Can I just say that
Can I-
I'm frustrated
can
too?
I'm sorry. I need to figure out if I need to find another room for my finance committee meeting, because I have the police
Sorry?
department, the fire department, and
Standing
the rec
by.
department all outside. So the mayor's I have checked, the mayor's conference room is unavailable. It's being used by PEG. So, when this meeting was scheduled and I was scheduling my finance committee meeting on the same day.
Well, yeah, but this meeting was scheduled and it was already on the schedule well in advance of,
With new things being added to it, right?
Well, we're-
Regionally.
I really just want to know if I
Yeah.
could just make this
Right.
30-second
So
point.
we're
This
we're
point
gonna finish.
is that
gonna be
it's
at least
really
another
frustrating
15,
for us
20
too,
minutes.
but we have to go out to bid with an architect has drawings and specifications, the size of the walls, this, that. The contractors gave a bid. There's nothing in the contract or the federal law that says I have any influence to make them hire. They can hire who they want to hire. I try to hire contractors that have good records, but I have to go with the low bidder, the low qualified bidder.
I get that, and I think it'd be great to find out your numbers for your 109 number.
Right.
Yeah, I'm
So,
gonna-
so in the interest of time, and this isn't me rushing, you tell us right here on the record, what exactly do you want from him? What documentation, what records?
I would
We'll
like
tell
to
him
see,
that.
I would like to see, because, I don't have to go out here and talk to everyone, right? I'm from Albany, I can recognize names. I need to see that, there's some proof to the numbers that's been, thrown out there, because I'm hearing otherwise.
Okay.
And I'm hearing otherwise from people that, that were on the work site.
Okay, so we can, you're gonna work on
happy to do.
being able to
And then
divulge
also,
those
Yes.
names up to.
You know, anything that is like, as I explained to you, when I met with Harris Oberlander about Trinity, everything that is going on in Trinity, he had broken down so that the least, most intelligent person can understand what was going on. There's a bunch of things going on at Albany Housing that, you know, for whatever reason, we can't get that information. And, you know, we should be able, if not everybody, the person that's representing that community should be able to have access to that information, and so that moving forward, everything is on the level. And that's the only thing that my
I don't like that
concern is
implication,
about.
but I made
Right.
a 6:30 appointment.
Right, okay, so, public comment. Did you have questions for Mr. Longo, or you just comments? Okay, so, we'll take, Ms. Diggs for public comment. You don't, so you don't have anything, you're done. So, Mr. Robinson. Yeah, just step up. But we're not gonna rehash the conversation that we just had.
Relax for a
All
minute,
right.
brother. I'm a taxpaying citizen, and brother, Mr. Kimbrough, seriously. Right now, for the first time in the history of Albany, New York State, two of the most powerful people. There's always been three white men in the room. Now, for the first time ever, there's going to be two black people and one white person in the room in New York State. I say that to say this: Albany County is 90% black. That illusion of lying to us is yesterday, right? I live in this city all my life, no matter what anybody say about me. And people seem to have a lot to say. Why? Because I went to school. I graduated from Albany High, class of 78. I graduated from SUNY at New Paltz, class of 83. And then I got my master's from the federal penitentiary. Federal pen at 41. They put me in the federal pen for marijuana, and marijuana is about to be legal. It's about to be legal. For who? The white man? There's always been two laws in Albany, black and white. Other people might run from it, but I understand it. And what we're saying now is this is 2019, and the buck stops here. It's time for us to get some money so that these young people can see older black
have to
people.
leave. You can leave.
Older
If
black
you
people.
want. Yes, you
Oh,
can.
so that these young people who see me We and made ask me. arrangements to meet. Yeah,
Okay, right.
you're very important, brother, because you've been marginalized. Albany Housing Authority been marginalized in this city for a long time. Mr. Long, I want to ask you one question. In the bylaws of the housing authority, doesn't it say somewhere that people who live in the housing authority someday could own the housing authority? Or No. become owner? Okay, then there's certain law. I get Ali to break it down to you. Because
Along-
Ali will bring it. Ali did the research on it where he actually showed me how the housing authority works, and especially on the federal level, and how it's supposed to be a conduit for success for poor people.
That's true.
For
But-
poor people,
yeah.
you can't. So now what success? No, so I'm saying this. I say this. I'm a skilled construction worker. I got kicked out of a laborers union. Why? Because of this. I could do everything in the labor union. I just had too much education to be in a laborers union. Every time I spoke, I looked at a different way. Because I have a college degree working in a laborers union. I went down to the Wade Center. I went to Clinton Avenue. I went down there during a time period when I really needed a job. I needed a job. I went down there, I seen the big sign that says no cameras, you can't buy audio, bro. I did everything possible to get a job in my neighborhood, doing what I know how to do. I couldn't get a job. So stop all that bells and that's yesterday. I couldn't get a job. There is young people that live in this area. I tell you what, you keep operating like you've been operating in this village, and watch what's going to happen. That's all I'm saying. Just keep doing what you've been doing. They don't put no effort. 6,000 people came through the door.
If 6,000 people came to do it, what kind of effort did they do to retain them 6,000? That means 6,000 people had problems.
We just
6,000
determined
people
that
need
it's not
jobs.
6,000. It
I'm
could've
just
been
saying, whatever the
smaller
number
than
is, the point I'm making is people in this neighborhood need jobs, but we have to deal with arrogant men like him for 30 years. Arrogant men like him is the reason why the black man has nothing in this town. It's men like him that's been in positions of power in this village that kept a foot on our neck. They have this systematic way of lying to us and running. This systematic way of yo, Mr. Longo, the things that you've been using yesterday don't work no more. This is 2019 and they got some thing called the internet.
You're
They
all
got
set.
something called the internet. Yeah, you can
Mr.
run.
Robinson, your time is up.
Yeah, it's
All
always on.
right, time is up.
So, Mr. Kimbrough, you can, first of all, this is a pro-black city. And it's house niggas like you that keep niggas that don't have no job in the fields, bro.
You have a good night,
I don't
Mr.
have a job,
Robinson.
man. It's black people that have a job. that got-
We still have another
Go
meeting.
ahead, man. Seriously, man. I'm the only one that show up down here all the time. I'm the one that these people regularly come to and look at. They ask me, Mr. Robinson, can I get a job? Mr. Robinson, can I get a job? Why can't I get a
We
job?
need, Mr. Johnson, we need you for the meeting. Okay.
Come on, man. You sit up there and defended that man like, oh my God.
Are we putting something to a vote tonight?
Yeah, we're gonna do the MWB ordinance.
Agenda?
This is the ordinance that's on there.
And it's just about the report.
Yeah, so it basically, just put it from, changes it from a biannual to an annual.
Are you still running?
Yes. Okay, on to the business of the Human Resource and Human Rights Committee. We're discussing amendment to ordinance number 11119, the MWBE ordinance. There was a suggestion by the outgoing, where am I here? By the outgoing Chief Diversity Officer, to Julissa Joseph, to adjust the time frame for reporting from a biannual report to an annual report. And this ordinance it simply adjusts the time to give more time for businesses to capture more information for the reports for the year. So that's. So any discussion on the ordinance?
When you said it gives more time,
It gives time to capture more information. Before we receive the biannual report. So if you think of the way the business works throughout the year, and a lot of it's construction, work through the warmer months, and then slows down during the winter time. So the warmer months is a busy time, and a lot of stuff is going on. And to have at the halfway point. Let's do this. Can you read the purpose of the ordinance, of the amendment? Just read through it.
This is the housing authority or just the?
Yes, we're,
The housing authority.
yeah, we are adjourned, yeah. We're adjourned. You want a copy of this ordinance or no?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll talk to you. And then I'll head over to finance committee. And then I'll head over to the meeting.
so they will give the reports on April instead of October.
And it's capturing a full year as opposed to 6 months, because if they're doing 2 reports, then it's a smaller snippet of information.
April and October, so it would just be an annual report.
Yeah, just one. It allows to capture more
The
information.
back is, on the reverse, is generally the reverse side of that is more. If you look at the second paragraph on the general purpose, that begins to,
No, I actually highlighted what I want to say.
oh, you have it, yeah.
Yeah, I have it on a little distracted.
So it aligns with how they keep data better
Right, yeah.
than what the town board.
It's in the general purpose of the legislation, the first paragraph, from Jaleesa Joseph. She thinks the information provided in the annual report will provide better clarity and greater clarity, and a better snapshot of programs. Any discussion?
No discussion.
Make a motion to report favorably?
Second? Second. All right, all in
Who's
favor?
second? You second? Okay.
Motion, second. All in favor? All right. Yeah. Motion to adjourn. Okay.